Baseball and Whatever with your host, Justin McAwee.
Because I was on campus and I had to appear like I was one of the cool kids, I would put the Star Wars book inside one of my textbooks so it looked like I was just studying for class.
All right, look, there's only one return, okay? And it ain't of the king, it's of the Jedi.
Vincent Francis Jankowitz IV.
I'm a glorified fact checker.
Last I checked, the most runs in a game wins.
Actually, I am a fact checker.
And Greg Probst.
If you look at most Bond fans movie rankings, they have Casino Royale and Majesties in their top two. For me, these actually rank in the bottom part of my list. I mean, I love them, but they don't compare to Diamond Cross Forever.
No, stop getting Bond wrong!
What's up, everybody? We are back, Baseball and Whatever, episode 79. Holy cow, we have an awesome show. If you're a Cubs fan, I feel like shit is about to hit the fan. If you're a White Sox fan, I don't even think there's a fan for the shit to hit.
The shit's already hit the fan.
Yeah, I guess. It depends. Would Reinsdorf be able to pay for a fan? I don't know. That's a whole other thing. We'll get into baseball. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about the Bears. We'll see. And then for our whatever topic this week, we are ranking our top 5 Christmas gifts of all time. Personally, I'm thinking like more stuff from when I was a kid because, I don't know, that's when Christmas was really fun. But the most important thing about this week's show, episode 79, we have a special guest. Let me tell you a little about him. He is a connoisseur of Air Jordans. He is the voice of the people on TikTok. He is a diehard Cubs fan, and he is one of the chosen to get blocked by Yadi Molina on Instagram. He is the one, the only Cody Delmendo of CHGO and CHGO Cubs. Cody, how's it going?
Yeah, that's a great introduction, man.
Thank you. I was thinking about that all day. I was like, how can I write this spectacular?
That is chef's kiss material. Like, I would love to hear that every time I'm introduced, to be honest with you.
I'll clip that and send it to you.
Yeah,
you can tell I used to teach English, right? All right,
yeah.
So Cody is
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Of course. If you don't know Cody, what are you doing? CHGO, part of the All Sports Network, right?
All City.
I'm sorry. Damn it. I knew it. Yep. See, I'm already making mistakes. All City, CHGO, along with DNVR for Denver and PHNX for Phoenix. Seriously, they are putting out awesome content. We were just talking about before the show. It's nice that you guys are kind of independently owned. You can kind of voice the opinion of the fan and kind of go from there and do the thing that you guys need to do. So we already have some people in the chat. Landon writes in, I'm not doing well. Get Correa out of my division. So the Cubs are trying.
We're trying.
I take that back. I hope they're trying, whether or not they are. If you are listening to us for the first time, first of all, thank you very much. We are 2 brother-in-laws. We used to be 3, but Greg is on sabbatical because he's with his newborn, JD. And pretty much we talk Chicago sports for the first half of the show. Second half is our whatever topic where we pick something pop culture, video games, movies, TV shows, music, or in this case, Christmas gifts. And we'd like to do top 5 lists because ranking stuff is fun. But before we get started, you can reach us in a variety of ways. Obviously, youtube.com/baseball and whatever. You can tweet us at baseball and what. Vinny is killing it on the Twitter handle there. You can email the show at baseballandwhatever@gmail.com. You can reach us on all your podcast apps of choice. We are a part of the Belly Up Sports Network. There's an awesome selection of podcasts and articles that you can check out there. And most importantly, you can call and leave a voicemail like Cody did a few episodes ago at 1-913-808-3278. That number again is 1-913-808-FART. There we go. We got the soundboard back working this week. All right. So if you're new to the show, we always try and kick off the show it's episode 79. We try and figure out famous Chicago athletes that wore that number. Now that we're in the 70s, it's getting really slim. Vinny, what team do you want to start with? I know right off the bat, there's probably no Cubs that wore 79.
There's no Cubs.
Okay.
There's one White Sox. I'll let you guys.
I know who
Cody,
that is.
Since you're the guest of honor, I'll let you guess it.
I'll let Cody handle that.
79. Just recently left the team.
Should have been a Cub.
Should have been a Cub.
Should have been a Cub. Was on the White Sox. Should have been a Cub.
He's an Astro
Just
now.
In the free agency. Could have signed him. Went to Houston. Plays first base.
Jose Abreu.
There
okay.
you go.
That's so far out of that feels like 2 decades ago when that happened, man.
Yeah, That's like another
Like
lifetime.
straight up, I forgot that happened. I remember being bummed for like, I don't know, 5 minutes, and then moved on with the rest of my day.
That was like 3 meltdowns and a couple of rants ago at this point.
Yeah.
Vinny, I know before the show you mentioned there was one Blackhawk that wore 79. He's on the team this year?
Yes, he is.
I feel like I should know this. It's not Lucas Reichel, is it?
No.
Okay, then I have no idea who it is.
It is Curtis Gabriel.
Oh, he's, I think, back in the minors. He doesn't matter. The Hawks don't matter anymore at this point, let's be honest. Yeah, this is more of a shrine to an old regime. Anyway, and then I know there's a bunch of Bears probably that wore 79, but I'll be honest, I'm horrible with football numbers, so enlighten me.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a lineman this year, gotten recent action, plays guard mostly.
Not Schofield, is it? Orland Park
Justin.
boy. I used to teach in Orland Park. I met his dad. I think his dad was like police chief or fire chief out there, something like that.
Oh, look at that.
I know. Look where
Should
that
get tickets
got me.
to the game.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much tonight already.
Cody's already like, what the hell am I doing here?
After that, there's not much. God, Jonathan Scott in the 2012 wore 79, and before that, I think there's 2 guys that were before my time. Kurt Becker, 1982 to 1990, and then Dick Evie, 1964 to 1969.
I was to say.
It's
a hell of a name.
Yeah, Richard Evie, but yeah, it's Evey. I'm probably butchering that last name like I always do. So
fair enough.
That's about it for Chicago.
And
Bears.
I know
79, not a good Chicago number.
There's
so
no
outside
Bulls
of Jose Abreu.
And I know we usually have our Bulls segment, but it's not even been worth talk. It's so depressing to talk about them too. So we'll skip the Bulls segment for this week. All right.
They didn't even cover last night, man.
No. Oh my god. We've talked about, like, I kind of took a break from the Bulls for like a good, I don't know, from like 99 to like maybe 2008, 2007 when like Heinrich and Gordon were on the team. And I was so excited last season when the lockout started. I'm like, you know what? I have something to watch during the baseball lockout. And now this year, they're not good.
No,
it's bad.
they're not.
It's bad. So
I feel bad for our CHGO Bulls crew because like they're the one team in this city that's supposed to be good, and they're not even bad. They're just like very mid. They're very mid. Like on any given night, they beat a good team, and then on any given night, they can lose to a bad team. Yeah.
It's bad.
If there's any, for me as the Cubs guy, if there's anything that makes me feel good about it is the fact that, like, well, at least when the Cubs want to be bad, they're bad and they're not like mid. So
yeah,
you know what I mean?
There's no middle tier. It's just either like all glory or god awful.
Yes, there's no middle and ground.
All right. Well, our next segment is usually our hot takes, but you know what? I feel like we have so many hot takes for the baseball talk. We're going to jump straight to that. Before we do that, we do have an ad read. We'd like to thank our partner In the Clutch for joining up with us on Baseball and Whatever. In the Clutch is an awesome sports apparel company that is known for their licensed MLB, Negro League, and MLS apparel, along with great shirts to rep your favorite retro hockey, baseball, and football teams. Better now is if you head over to intheclutch.com, you can use the promo code at checkout, baseball and what, and you will get 10% off your order. So once again, intheclutch.com, use baseball and what as your promo code at checkout, and you'll get 10% off. So thanks again to the folks over there. Vinny, are we ready for baseball talk?
I think so.
All right, let's go.
Baseball.
Welcome back to Major League Baseball. Sort of.
Taking a look at Chicago's 2 favorite teams and other happenings around the MLB.
I feel like Cody's here. Let's get straight to the Cubs. Cody Bellinger signs a 1-year, $17.5 million. You know, okay, I'm fine. If he can recapture some of the glory from his MVP year in LA, that's great. God, I saw there was a former major leaguer, I can't remember who it was, that was tweeting out. He's like, man, I wish I was that bad. I could have made almost $20 million this year. It's a lot. That's it. It was Josh Reddick, former A, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think he was an A, Oakland A at one point.
Houston Astro.
Oh, yeah, that's right, too. And then obviously we have, I'm going to butcher his name. Vinny, you want to take a shot at his name?
Jameson Taillon?
That's it. Thank you. I forgot how to say his last name.
You said his last name correctly, too.
That's good.
There we go.
I posted a TikTok. Talking about the interest the Cubs had in Taillon, and I think I said Taillon like the entire time. I said
it does. Yeah.
I said his name like that, and I said the name at least, I don't know, 10 times in it, and then I realized that it's not that way, and then I was like, well, fuck it, I ain't freaking going back and changing it, so or redoing it. It's too much damn work. You know what I mean?
No, well, you know what? I was pretty excited about that signing. 4 years, $68 million. I think he slots in. Is a good. I don't know. What do you think? Like a 3-starter at this point, probably. Maybe pushing for a 2.
I think a solid 3 or 4. I think there's upside. I think has the upside to be like a number 2.
Yeah.
I personally love the signing because, like I said, there is upside there. I think the Cubs, with the pitching infrastructure that they have developed and have touted, wholeheartedly touted in front of our faces, that is like this new great thing that they have, which they have shown. They have had players come up and out of the minor leagues, or even just bullpen guys that they've signed that no one's ever heard of and have performed well. Like they have backed up their talk related to that. So I give them a ton of credit for that. And so I think if you bring a guy like that in, who was a top 5 draft pick when he got drafted by the Pirates, I know he had time.
2.
Yeah. I know he's had Tommy John twice, but he threw 177 innings last year. He had over 100 innings the season before. He didn't pitch in 2020, and 2019 he was hurt. I think that was one of those Tommy Johns, right?
That sounds right.
Mm-hmm.
But his 2 years with the Pirates, I think that 2018 he was a 3.9 F4 player, and a 3.2 F4 player the season before. Like, he's been a very productive pitcher. Has he lived up to number 2 overall pick? No, but like I said, I think there's upside that maybe the Cubs can get an even better version out of him. But at the very least, I think he's like a very solid, number 3 or number 4, probably a number 4 in a really good rotation. But a team like the Cubs, I'd love for them to get another starter, and I think they will. But for right now, as we look at this roster, I would say he's a number 3 behind Steele and Stroman, or Stroman and Steele. It'll be interesting to see who's opening day starter for the Cubs in 2023. I'm very interested in that and how they approach that. But I think he can be a very solid number 3. Number 4 going into the season, and then I think he can be better than what people think. I think there's potential that in a year or 2, people look back at that contract and people think, "Wow, Jed, you really showed us. You really nailed it." I hope. I feel like that's a very good it's a very good signing. You're getting a really good innings eater, someone that you need in season for 162 games to come out there and give you 5-6 innings every 5th day. Like I said it on our podcast the other day, especially at the beginning of this year, the lack of starting pitching depth really showed for the Cubs.
Oh, yeah.
Like they had an injury. What was it? Hell, Adbert Alzolay didn't even start the year, and you automatically saw how bad the Cubs starting pitching was. And Kyle Hendricks didn't bounce back from 2021, and Stroman struggled to start the year. And maybe you had Mark Leiter Jr. come out there and freaking trying to start games to start the year. So this is this fills a huge hole in a way. Like, the casuals aren't going to see that, but if you watch every single game and follow the team, this is a big move in my opinion.
Yep.
It's one that I feel like when we get in season, it's going to be a forgotten one, especially if they do eventually sign Correa or Swanson or whoever, or if they get a Rodon, you know what I mean? People are going to forget this one, but I think that there is potential for this to be wow, the Cubs really knocked this one out of the park. So again, fingers crossed. I hope so. I'm not some pitching guru, but based off what I've read, based off what I've talked to certain people who are really into that, it seems like it's a really good fit. And I think his girlfriend is from Chicagoland, so he's probably, I don't want to say it's home, because it's his girlfriend that's from here, or wife. I really don't know, but I think that as far as off the field, how that stuff matters, man.
Yep.
She's back in her home area, so that's probably good for them together, I guess. So I think it's just a really good fit. And I see a guy in your comments said that he had cancer and missed a year too. Yeah, and that's true as well. So with that said, on top of 2 Tommy John surgeries, and he was able to do what he did last year, like clearly battle tested. He performed well in New York. Like not everyone does that. You're right. I like, and he's coming to Chicago, and he's had, again, he played with the Pirates, so like he's has familiarity with Wrigley and the NL Central in general. So I think there's a lot of things to like related to him. And you mentioned Bellinger. I'm trying not to get too high about it, but I can't stop thinking about the possibility of the upside that comes.
Oh yeah,
of course.
And you mentioned about how he was that bad and he's making $17.5 million. Well, shit, if the Dodgers would have kept him, they would have had to pay him like 20 like 19 or $20 million. So like I think that he is definitely or the Cubs are definitely getting a better deal out of it than what many people think. I think, and at the very least, they get a guy that's a stopgap for PCA next year. So
I can appreciate these. Some of these are names I recognize from the YouTube show or the podcast that you guys do at CHGO. Michael Coletta has made it over. He said Ricketts is cheap. I heard you guys reference him on the podcast today, so I feel
we reference him all the time.
We're getting like the CHGO bump right now. This is awesome.
This is Michael Colada ever been in your YouTube stream?
No.
This is a first.
Thank you. This is a first.
Wow. Okay. All right.
So,
well,
I think
we're always referencing him because I don't know. He's very real and he's very pessimistic, but we love him. So I feel
like you kind of have to be a Cubs fan at this point. But I think going back to what you said about Tyon is, I just like the way that it kind of slots everyone a little bit better. We don't know, I hope Hendricks comes back and knocks it out of the park, for lack of a better phrase, but I don't know. I don't know how that's going to go. I'm really excited for Hayden Wesneski. I am so pumped. Mm-hmm. Seeing that guy slider at the end of the season just blew me away. I love Keegan Thompson. I'm not sure. I mean, personally, I'd love to see him more as a starter, but I know his value is it kind of like is that swingman or that bridge guy. You still have Caleb Killian out there, and Stroman was awesome last year. He came out and rocked it, especially when he came back from that injury, midway. So I'm really, when I saw this signing, I was more excited for this signing as opposed to the what's his name, the Cody Bellinger signing, to be honest. And I'm really hoping Bellinger does great, but we'll kind of see. We also have Trevor. Trevor says he's a daily CHGO listener too. Thanks for bringing me over, Cody. So, Cody, thank you for bringing these people with you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Michael, anything for you guys.
Michael also says, want to make Cody understand just how cheap Ricketts is. I am relentless. Dude. Don't worry. If you go back,
Michael, I hope Michael listened or watched today's show fully. Like, he jumped in the stream kind of late in the show. Like, if he watched the entire show, like me, Luke, and Corey were very angry today. Yeah. We were all angry, man. So
I was shocked to hear Luke. I mean, and I wouldn't even say he was. I mean, you could tell he was disappointed, and it was almost like a disappointed dad kind of vibe. You know what I mean? Like, come on, you could have done better, Cubs. And it's like, wow, I'm not used to hearing Luke Stuckmeyer say that, especially all those years on NBC Sports. Obviously his hands are kind of tied a little bit.
So today, when I got to the office, I realized I forgot my keys. My girlfriend dropped me off at the office, and that's why I didn't bring my keys. So I get to the door, and I realize I don't have it. So I'm like, all right. So I call Luke, and he comes down to let me into the door. And not even 1 foot into the door, he's like, this fucking team, man. Like, what are we doing? Because, I knew coming into the office today that at the very least, I was going to yell about some shit because this whole thing, this whole situation with Xander Bogaerts signing that 11-year, $280 million contract completely changes how the Cubs can negotiate with Correa now. And that's the big thing. That's the big thing that bothers me about it, because And that's why I tweeted that video and why I'm so angry, because if you get that done basically as soon as within hours after Judge, if you just pay up, I don't even know what the number would be, but if you just pay up and give him whatever years, then you're not in the position that you are now after Bogarts signs this contract. And there's a lot of people in my mentions tonight that are like, still don't understand why I'm more so blaming Jed than I am Tom. Because listen, whether Tom is truthful or not about the actual saying, the checkbook being open, the fact that Jed, it feels like he's sitting on his hands right now when you got this situation where knowing that the moment the Judge comes off the board, the teams that didn't get Judge are definitely going to be in on Correa and Swanson. So like that's the big thing. That's the big thing that bothers me. It has nothing to do with how much money you're giving them. It doesn't have anything to do with how many years you give them. It's just the process that the Cubs that have gone through doing this. And like, again, like, I'm not saying that a lot of people thought that I wanted the Cubs to give Bogarts that contract. No, I'm personally glad they didn't give him that contract. Correct. I'm just pissed. Yeah. I'm pissed that the market is where it's at now. Yeah. And it's more so because I don't have confidence that Jed or Tom or I guess both of them are going to do whatever it takes to get one of those two guys. And we are at a point now where, especially, with what everyone thinks on the outside looking in right now with the organization, like the Cubs just had the lowest ticket sales since 1997. Like I was like, what, 7 years old, 7 years old then? Lowest ticket sales since then. Yeah. And you would and Cubs convention's coming back this year. Like you have to get a big fish, man. I genuinely, like, I've been saying, like, I don't care if it's Swanson, I don't care if it's Correa, you got to get one of them. Yep. And then, like, you get either one of those guys, and the Bellinger and the Taillon signing not only do they make more sense, but it looks even better on your roster. But if Bellinger and Taillon are your big money, big spending, doesn't look good. It doesn't look great. And no one at Cubs convention is going to get excited about that or anything. And that's why I'm so angry with this entire situation, is because now the Cubs they absolutely are going to have to either give more years or they're going to have to give more money than they would have had to 4 days ago to get Correa. And it's,
let alone last year. I mean,
yes. And especially last year in the offseason, like, because clearly the Cubs were linked to him and they talked and all of this, and that's all been out there. And you did, like, what the rumor was, like 10 years, 300 million. That seems so much nicer than what I feel like the Cubs are going to have to give now. I feel like the Cubs are at least going to have to give 11 years and at least have to go up to 350 million. Maybe more for both. That's just the fact of the matter. And again, I'm not good at math, so I don't know if those numbers make sense. But like, you get what I'm saying. They're gonna have to go up more now on the years and the money. And like, that's what angers me the most, because the Cubs did it to themselves. Maybe now I'll give the Cubs a little leeway to this point, that I think that Correa was definitely going to hold out until after Judge signed.
Right.
So the fact that they didn't sign Correa before Judge signed, I'm cool with it. I accept it. But the moment that he signed, like I said at the beginning of this conversation, that's when the Cubs needed to get it done, because now that Bogarts is off the board and it's just him and Swanson, and Bogarts just got $120 million more than anyone expected and 5 years more than anyone expected. Yeah. That's like, I'm at a point where I can't even project what Correa is going to get.
No, man. It totally blows the market like out of the water. Like, I don't even know where the market goes from here, because The thought of giving a 30-year-old an 11-year contract, and I get the Padres can do that, you know what I mean? Especially if they're not counting on keeping Soto in whatever, what is it, next year, 2 years when his contract's up?
2 years, you got 2
years, right?
Yep.
And even Vega in the chat said the Padres are a BS market and they're spending without care. If they can, anyone can. Totally agree. He also mentioned that David Robertson got 1 year, $10 million. I would have loved to have seen him come back too as a Cub, but you know,
it's not. I'm not too upset about like who the Cubs bring in to be in their bullpen because they've shown that they can just bring anyone in and they can be good.
Mm-hmm. That is
so true. that is fine. Like I honestly need them to be in on like get to figure out the big things first and then just put the bullpen together some way, one way or another. Plus they got some guys in AAA that are up and coming that can come out and be in that bullpen. So I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, I mean, even Brandon Nimmo getting like $162 million tonight. About? He had one really good year, man. 8 years, like he basically got a little bit less than he basically got the Jason Hayward contract without, minus 20 million or so. And he had one really, really good year. You know what I mean? Like he's like it's wild, and like this is just where it's at. And I'm fearful that the Cubs aren't going to, just get out of their comfort zone. That's what really is what scares me is like, are they going to be willing to just do something that they don't feel like is the right move? And, like when you're the Cubs, like if something doesn't work out, you should be able to just, do what the Padres did when they moved Eric Hosmer, when they traded him. Freaking the Red Sox just ate like $50 million or whatever it was when Pablo Sandoval was the worst free agent signing of all time. You know what I mean? Like their teams do it all the time. If you do not perform, teams just remove you. And like that's the one thing about the Hayward contract that I guess angers me the most is that they just held on to him way too long. Got to a point where he kind of became a villain, whatever. Yeah. But like that's like if you have a bad contract, you can just tell him to leave.
Yeah,
you pay him to go away, man.
Yeah, take just this money and stop showing up to work. Right? I mean,
right. And Colada points out in the comments about the Phillies. I mean, listen, I don't really like. I'll give you a hot take. We had the hot take segment. I personally, even with Turner, I don't think the Phillies make the playoffs next year. Wow. That's my hot take going into next year.
That's a big one.
Right. But to be able to get Bryce Harper on the deal that he is at right now is such like he's not even making 30 million AAV. No. He's just like he just got a ton of years. He got a 13-year contract. And like he's great. Like he's gonna go to the Hall of Fame one day, probably. And like it just angers me even more at this moment that we are in that the Cubs weren't in on that. Seriously in on that back when he was in free agency, because you can that contract it's aged beautifully for the Phillies.
Yep. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like people get afraid because some of those contracts don't work out and stuff, and obviously Hayward is like a great example, but like I don't know, man. Like I think that if the Cubs would have sign a guy like Harper or Machado, then you're more willing to move some of those guys that they waited too long to trade. And then maybe we're not doing this rebuild, you know what I mean? And like it's just like this is what these last 4 days have done to me is I've just gone over all these different scenarios in my head of what the Cubs could have, should have, and how like all these different scenarios of what they should have and could have done to like just like I don't know, avoid like this fear of wanting to spend for good baseball players. And it's so annoying.
It's like a fear of returning to mediocrity. Like if you don't come out and throw that money around, which and I think it was either you or Luke or I can't remember who it was on the CHGO podcast today. Like it might have been Luke. He said like when the Cubs are good, Wrigley Field prints money. Like there is no excuse. And I get, there's all these other behind the scenes we don't see, like upkeep and whatever. But renovations and all that, redoing Wrigleyville in general. I get it. I know that's all money. I mean, Michael's in the chat says Harper's dog wanted him to sign here. Ricketts said no. But yeah, it's just it's so frustrating. I do want to bring up one of our listeners, Zach. He wrote in on Facebook earlier this week, and he wanted to know my take on losing Wilson Contreras, because I was a pretty big Wilson Contreras guy. I'll be honest, I don't know if it's because I was so hyped up during the beginning of the winter meetings. Like when that news broke, it didn't even faze me. It was just kind of like whatever. Like, am I bummed he's going to the Cardinals of all teams? Yes. But like in the big scheme of things, I know I saw a stat. I can't remember who it was that tweeted it out today. Might have been Ivy Futures on Twitter.
Greg Zumack. Yeah.
Yes, about the ERA of the pitchers. And granted, some of them were like 30 to 40 innings as opposed to like 70 or 80. But like most of the pitchers, their ERA was like a whole run lower with Jan
Gomes.
With him behind the plate as opposed to Wilson. Now, the one thing that did kind of break me a little bit, and Vinny's like, "Are you going to try and make Cody puke on the show?" Did you guys read Wilson Contreras' article in the Player Tribune today?
Oh, no. Don't get me started.
I know Vinny didn't read it, but I wanted to just read this quote, and I think Cody will appreciate this. This is from Wilson Contreras, Players Tribune. Go ahead and Google it. You'll find it. It says, this is him. He said, "I do want to say that one of the biggest reasons why I'm so excited by joining the St. Louis Cardinals is because it is going to be a huge honor to carry on the tradition of excellence that Yadi established during his 19-year career in the big leagues. I've learned so much from that guy over the years by watching him play, how he carries himself, how balls stick to his chest protector. His passion and all that stuff is impossible to miss. Everything about the dedication he had, how hard he worked, the type of player and teammate he was, wanting to get better every day. I'd like to throw in there, didn't he leave like in the midst of the playoff race to go to a restaurant or something he was starting?
Basketball game.
I'm sorry, the team he owned.
Or something like that.
He did it during the season or something.
That's right, yes. And then he finishes it by saying, "It's all one of a kind, and all of it has me inspired to keep pushing for tomorrow to be the very best player and leader I can for the Cardinals." I'll be honest, that just
did you have to read it? You didn't have to read it.
I didn't have to, but it makes for a good show. Joe says obviously didn't learn how to work with a pitching staff though. So
yeah, listen, this is my take on Contreras, and I basically said it on the show. Like, I would have loved for them to keep him, but I think 5 years is too much in my opinion. Yeah. Like, we're talking about a guy who's going to be 31 years old next year, and he has and you even said it, like the pitchers. ERAs and other things related to pitchers are worse than with Jan Gomes. And look, I don't think it has anything to do with Contreras. I think the Cubs just want to go more defensive at that position. And like, listen, if you're going to put offense, you're going to replace that guy's offense with someone else and put someone defensive back there, then fine. Like, as long as you're replacing him, that's fine. And that's like another big thing that has to do with this whole Correa Swanson thing for me is like, you got to get someone to replace Wilson Contreras' offense, man. We talked about it when the day that the news broke, he led the team in WRC plus and WOBA and all these other stupid advanced analytics. Like it is ridiculous that our catcher was the Cubs' best offensive player this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that said, like, from the emotional side, it sucks. Like, I do not want to see Wilson Contreras in a Cardinals uniform next year. Like, that gross. Sucks. And I hate that he wrote this stupid Players Tribune article, and it honestly started off with everything that had to do with the Cardinals, and the headline pisses me off. And it's just like, dude, like, Cubs fans gave you nothing but love in your walk here, man. Nothing but love. Like, freaking people wearing the obvious shirt, extend Wilson Contreras all over the ballpark this year. Like, it's not the fans' fault that you're not a Cub.
No,
it's not, and that's what pisses me off. And like, I was in my good friend Dom Frederick's Twitter space yesterday, and he was talking about how he thinks Wilson is going to go full heel. And like,
I don't know how heel he could go to make me completely loathe him, just because. I mean, he was part of the World Series team, man, and he was here for a long time, and he made a lot of great memories. It's going to be really hard for me to like full on hate him like I do most Cardinals, but this Players Tribune article he's off to a great start to making me want to not like him. And like the way he is on social media, that doesn't. Maybe he wants that. Maybe he does want us to not like him. And you know what? If that maybe it's because that'll make him play better against us. I don't know. The guy is crazy. I mean, the amount of times he almost like charged the mound at certain guys because guys threw up and in, like all this stuff. And I've said this before. Wilson Contreras is a guy that you will run through a brick wall for if he is on your team.
Yep.
But when he's not, you absolutely hate him. There's a reason that the people in Milwaukee hate him. And there's a reason.
With a passion.
There's a reason that every Cardinal fan would say that he was overrated and he's not nearly as was never good enough to be in the same conversation as Yachty is until 3 days ago.
Right.
Like there's a reason that they would all say that, because like he rubs people the wrong way if he's not on your team. And you know what? Like,
it's like joking
in a way,
Noah.
Yes, exactly. And like in a way, I respect it and it's fine. And like I understand. The only way that I guess that I could really hate him is if he has a lot of success there, like not necessarily him, but just the team.
Yeah.
Like if the Cardinals go and have a couple deep playoff runs and somehow win a World Series or something with them, then it's gonna hurt a lot, right? But as far as like in the moment right now, I was with you. I on the CHGO Cubs podcast, like I said multiple times that like I didn't think the Cardinals were actually going to do it. I didn't like if they were going to like make Yachty this like poster boy of what a catcher should be and how his defense and his game calling and his all this bullshit. If that's the identity of a great catcher and someone that is the greatest of all time, to go from someone like that
to Wilson.
To a guy like Wilson, who I didn't say this, but the league believes that he is bad at game calling and bad at like taking criticism and all. Like, again, I'm not saying it. It's perceived around the league. And only 2 teams were interested in him in free agency, the Cardinals and the Astros.
Mm-hmm.
If the Cardinals are one of those 2 teams, and the Astros were mainly going to use him in left field. And I think that's why he didn't go to the Astros, is because he has too much pride. So if only those 2 teams were really interested in him in free agency, then I have no choice other than to believe that my belief that Yachty is one of the most overrated baseball players this century, hell, maybe of all time, guys, is even more factual now, because the Cardinals have completely flipped to a complete different guy. Yeah. And they're like believing in how their coaching and all that.
Their culture is going to change him,
Yeah. And it's like, if that's the case, then why did you hang on to Yachty for 2 fucking decades, dude? What the fuck? The dude is the most overrated baseball player this century at the very least.
I would take one of his brothers, who they're probably in their late 50s by now, mid 50s, Benji and Jose Molina. I would still take them over Yachty at this point. So
I like, a lot of people think that when I say he's overrated, I say that I think he was a bad baseball player. Like that's not true. I just think that he gets too much credit for like the Cardinals winning and their culture and shit. The dude played for 20 years. Like, you gotta have some level of respect for the guy.
Right.
But do I think he is the reason that they won rings and that they win year in and year out? No, they won last year because of fucking Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt and Albert Pujols. Like, freaking, he was riding Albert Pujols'
youth.
He was riding Albert Pujols' coattails the first half of his career.
Yeah.
Like, and then he did have like a 5 to 7 year stretch in the early 2010s where I think you can absolutely say he was the best catcher in the league.
Sure.
But when you want to talk, if you're going to tell me that that's all it takes to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, a 5 to 7 year stretch of being really, really good at your job, then by golly, we might as well start talking about putting Jason Hayward in the Hall of Fame, guys, because he was good for, a nice 5-year stretch before he came to the Cubs. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, I can't understand it. You got to explain it to me like I'm 5 years old to get me to like understand the ideology behind Yadi Molina being a Hall of Famer. So circling back to Wilson Contreras, listen, for me personally, I hope he's not a complete bust. I don't want him to be a Dexter Fowler, but
right.
His deal in this situation screams Dexter Fowler to me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, the Cardinals fans are going to turn on him very quickly.
Oh yeah.
And then it's gonna get bad real quick. And like, even for Dexter Fowler, like, I felt so bad for him near the end of that whole situation. I'm just like, oh, this poor guy, like, man. I mean, granted, he did it to himself, but I don't know.
He took the money.
Took the money.
Like,
he's still collecting the check. It's still showing up in his bank account every 2 weeks. Vinny, I'm curious, before we wrap up our Cubs talk, do you have a preference at this point who you'd like to see them target, if it's down to Correa and Swanson, or you think we're going to end up with the Gene Seguras of the world at this point?
Adam Frazier at second base.
Yeah.
Oh God. I hope it doesn't get to that. No, I mean, obviously Correa's the one. I think that makes the most sense. I mean, if they're going to have to go 11 years for Swanson, I'd rather him go 11 years for the younger player in Correa. I did want to get to a point that Cody had mentioned on the CHGO podcast today about, and you weren't the only one. That's why I'm bringing this up, because I don't want to be, attack you here. But you had mentioned that they could have gotten Correa last year for 10 years, $300 million. Mm-hmm. Two things against that. One, he came out and said he didn't want to sign with the Cubs because they weren't competing. And the counter argument to that is money talks, right?
Yep.
That, I mean, pay him enough, he'll come here. But the second part to that was he switched agents during the lockout. He switched to Boris, and Buster Olney reported I remember the report that said that if he signs a long-term contract, Boris wasn't going to get full commission. But if he signed a 1-year deal, he could get full commission this year when he signs a long-term deal. So there was incentive for Boris to get him to sign that short-term deal with opt-outs every year, pretty much 1-year deals, just to get that bigger commission. Now, I don't know how true that is. I mean, I feel like that's kind of sleazeballish agent, work to get him
that's on a whole other level.
Deal, so I can get paid the next year around. So I don't know how true that is, but I did see that, and I know I saw that on Twitter, and I know you talked about on the show. I did want to bring it up. I just I didn't know how true that is, and how true, like, if you heard anything different on that was more true, or is that just
so first off, the first point you made about the Cubs were in a rebuild, you didn't want to be part of that. Well, not only does money talk, but also he went to the Twins, who finished at the bottom of the AL Central. so I never really believed that.
Okay.
But you do make a very good point about the switching of the agent thing, and to be honest, I completely forgot that happened. So you're showing me up here, and that's fine. I respect it. I respect it here a little
Cody.
bit.
And that's the last time Cody shows up on our show. Thanks, Vinny.
But hey, I'm giving you credit where credit is due. I get it. Listen, I don't think I'm right about every little thing. I just this whole entire thing with Correa. I just feel like the Cubs are just doing everything they can to fuck this up. The more the time goes on, I just feel like that's what it is. And that's, to me, that's honestly the point. And so maybe perhaps they couldn't have got him at last year, but they were linked to him for so long last winter that the whole agent thing can't be the whole sole reason that the Cubs didn't get him. I think that comes down to did Ricketts open the checkbook last offseason? Probably not, but also what if he did, but Jed is just doing what he's doing right now and just taking his slow ass time, you know what I mean? And trying to spend intelligently. I honestly, like, I don't think it's all on Tom, and I don't think it's all on Jed. I think it's like a mixture, and it's annoying because, like, when Theo was here, it felt like Tom gave Theo the keys and he went and did what he did. And yeah, he made some mistakes, but you knew the Cubs were going to go out there and do things when they were ready to win. And right now, I feel like the Cubs are like a few star pieces away from being at least a wild card team in this shitty Mickey Mouse division. They should be active out there, man. And listen, they got Bellinger and they got Taillon, and like, I'm nothing against those guys. Those are great additions to go if you get a star player. Like, and like I said that earlier, like that's the thing, is those look like great signings if you get that star player. So yeah, no, I'm sure there's plenty of things I said on today's show that I probably either contradicted or, didn't do my research, whatever. I'm just like, I feel like the entire point of the rant is that it just feels like the Cubs are sitting on their hands and not being aggressive, And like, that's the thing.
Do you think Jed at all is worried because he saw how it went with Theo when they were able to spend, and then Tom just kind of closed the checkbook during those last couple of years now, not getting Machado, not getting Harper, not re-signing Nick Castellanos. Do you think that's in the back of Jed's mind, that he's worried that, the checkbook's open today, but it's not open tomorrow type of thing, where he's worried about that, where he needs to give himself, which I don't, sign the player, worry about that later type of thing. And, you should be able to eat the costs, and there's no big renovations going on with Wrigley in the foreseeable future. The sports book isn't going to cost that much, and that's going to be up and running in next year or something like that.
It'll be sometime in next year. Yeah. Like exactly. The building is constructed. They're still fixing it up and everything.
Sure.
Yeah. No, it's, that's a good point. Like, maybe, and if so, then like, maybe the front office and ownership group are so far off, like, on the same page than anyone thinks. And the only reason that I've never really thought that was an issue is because, like, you never really had an issue with it. The moment that the Ricketts family became owners and they hired Theo, like, it was, you do what you do and fix the team. And, and Tom, do you. And, like, after they lost in the NLCS in 2017, they signed Darvish. They signed a few other guys. They signed some bullpen guys and went into 2018. Had some issues. They obviously they lost game 163. Had to play the wild card game, and then that's when the money went away, right? Yeah. And Theo said the offense broke. And we thought they were going to do something, and all they did was sign Daniel Descalso. And then they signed, and then they signed Craig Kimbrell in the middle of the 2019 season, because Ben Zobrist had to go deal with his cheating wife.
Yeah.
So, like, there's issues there, but on top of that, like, the one thing I will definitely have to criticize Theo for is that, okay, you're not going to be able to spend money. Why not trade a guy like that? That was the time where you trade a Schwarber, or you trade a Bryant, or hell, we all would have screamed and yelled if they traded Javi Baez after 2018. But if you traded him, you could have got something really valuable back. Like that was the time to really, consider doing something like that. And I remember after the 2018 season, I was like, all right, it feels like we need to, shake things up a little bit. Everyone was talking about, are they going to extend Bryant? Are they going to extend Baez? All these guys, like, but also in the back of my mind, and I think a lot of people's minds was too, like, we got to shake up the roster a little bit. Like, at that point, Kyle Schwarber was, he was a streaky hitter, right? And he struck out a lot. And I mean, he still strikes out a lot, but he definitely became a better hitter after he left the Cubs. And, in 2018, he was solid. And then I thought even more so after 2019, especially the second half of 2019, you could have moved a guy like Schwarber. And again, like, I'm not saying they should have traded Schwarber. What sucks about Schwarber is they let him go for nothing. But like, that's kind of my thing with that situation. of them closing up the checkbook or whatever, like that. And Jed said it himself, like they held on to some of those guys way too long.
Yep.
And for 3 years, we all sat and discussed, will they extend this guy? Will they extend this guy? And they didn't extend any of them. And Kyle Hendricks is now the only guy left from 2016 on the roster. And it's sad and whatever. So yeah, like again, like, and when I said earlier about the scenarios that I go through in my head, like I said this on today's CHGO Cubs podcast. I think about what if Hayward actually like hit when he was with the Cubs? Like, what if he had actually hit? Perhaps he opts out and the Cubs can use that money to go get Harper. Or because he's good, the missing of, you know, Ben Zobrist in 2019 doesn't really disappear, or you know, Chris Bryant's injuries don't affect the team as much because Jason Hayward's living up to the contract, right? Like I think about those types of scenarios all the time. It's very unhealthy to do because it just makes me sad. But I think about them and I'm like, man, like dude's a great dude, and he probably don't win the World Series without him, but fuck. He like, and I only say that because Ricketts wasn't willing to just like let him go, like pay him to go away and then fix the issue. You know what I mean? Like that's where I get angry about ownership and stuff like that. Like I don't get angry about ownership about a lot of things, but the handling of just not trying to fix that roster earlier is what bothers me a lot, because it was clear, especially after 2019. And then the fact that they didn't do anything then too is just so infuriating. And so, yeah, now, and that's why we're in this position that we're in. And listen, I tweeted earlier, like, you know, I accepted trading the core. I accepted, you know, this and that. And I am, you know, I'm on board for this next wave of prospects and all that. Like you sold me on it. That's why you have to sign some guys. That's why you have to sign a Correa, because if you don't do it, then you're going to lose people like me. And when you lose people like me, you're losing people who are going to go to the ballpark, whether they're good or bad.
Right.
Yep.
So they get into a dangerous territory if they lose the fans that are ready to go and amped up and have bought into like the mission statement of this next round.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they don't get. I have totally just written off Correa in the sense that I don't feel like the Cubs are going to be willing to go that high and that long. And I've just like made peace with like, just get Dansby Swanson, and then we'll see what else shakes out. It's like just get him and we'll be good. And it's like, if you would have told me that that's how I'd be feeling on like Monday night, Tuesday night, when they were like, they're going to get Xander Bogaerts and Dansby Swanson, and oh my God, this infield is going to be stacked. I was so pumped. I was like, man, what jersey can I buy? Because I am like amped up to the net, like the whole 9 yards. And like, and now it's like, God, they're going to blow this because they don't want to do it. So,
and it's, again, it's wild to think about, because all the signs pointed that they were going to do this. Cause like, listen, Cubs convention is every year, whether they're good or bad, but like the Cubs have never been in a situation where the fan base is angry at them.
There's vitriol now. Yeah.
Right. Like before 2016, everyone would go to Cubs convention and just, you know, be happy to be there because it's the Cubs. Like, I don't know how, like, that's what I feel like it always was. And you always talked yourself into thinking, oh, maybe the team could be good, blah, blah, blah. And like, again, no real expectations, like legitimate expectations until after they won the World Series. And like, I'm just if you're going to have that, like, and you're going to still charge people like $120 to go to that, like, fuck, no, dude, thanks. That's going to be a no for me, dog. Like, good luck to anyone who works for the Cubs that has to go work that, you know? And if they have that and then Tom doesn't show up, like, even more people are going to be mad, honestly. So, I don't know. Like, I am thinking negatively about Correa right now in terms of them getting him. You know, I've been very loud about how it doesn't matter to me that it's probably that I'm okay with Swanson too. But like, let's be real. Like, Correa is a better baseball player than Dansby Swanson. Maybe Dansby Swanson has the maybe he can potentially be at the level of a Carlos Correa in terms of hitting, but you're going to give a guy a lot of money and do a lot of hoping. Good luck. So, but at least he has the defense. Like I can give him that, but this team needs some pop, man. They need some offense. You get some offense to go with this up and coming pitching staff. They can be a very fun team to watch next year.
Well, that's the plan, though. We got Nicky Bats, Nicky Two Strikes, ready to go. He's going to come out. If one more person calls into the score when I'm listening on my lunch break and says, but if they sign a shortstop, what are they going to do with Nick Madrigal? I'm like, I don't give a shit what they do with him. I'm sure he's a lovely individual, but Carlos Correa and Nico Horner or Nick Madrigal, like, come on, but oh god, it's a shit show. Real quick, just because we do have some White Sox listeners that listen, I did find this quote from Jerry Reinsdorf, and I know the CHGO White Sox guys have been hitting Reinsdorf pretty hard lately. I just want to read this because I find this hysterical, but I'm also pretty pessimistic too. He was asked about just what he's doing for the community. Apparently he's responsible for putting a lot of kids through college. Reinsdorf was quoted as saying, "This is what the best thing I can do is really about. There's 250 kids who went to college that probably would not have gone. It's great, but it's one of the many programs. Really, I'm sincere when I say the best thing you can do when you own a sports franchise is to do things in the community. It's so much more important than winning a baseball game, which is good because we don't win many." Right? Are you kidding me? Like, I'm not even a White Sox fan. I know Greg, our third co-host, is a diehard, and he's starting to waver. Like, you can tell in our text chain with him, they're losing him. And similar to Cody, what you were talking about not showing up at Wrigley this year if things go south, like when you lose those members of the fan base, yes, I will not begrudge anybody who is willing to help support the community and to give those kids that maybe are struggling the chance to go to college. Awesome. But to say that that's why you own a team and that's the most important thing about owning a team, he doesn't have to own a team to do charity work. Yeah. I don't know if anyone wants to remind him about that.
It's almost like he's like just completely out of completely has no idea what people think about him. Like
exactly.
Like it's like the entire everything that anyone has ever said about him has just gone over his head. Like holy shit, is that bad? I'll say this, man. As bad as the Cubs have made me angry over the last 4 days and all of that, I still think whether they get a Correa or not, I still think that they're in a better position for success than I do the White Sox. And the only reason I say that is what are the White Sox going to do? I thought they should have been all in on Brandon Nimmo.
Oh yeah.
I thought they should have been all in on Nick Castellanos last year. I thought they should have been all in on all kinds of guys last year. And then, and you get what I'm saying. Yeah. And they're just not and they're in the middle of their championship window.
Oh, that window is 3/4 of the way shut now.
Right. They are relying on Luis Robert finally living up to his MVP potential. They're relying on Eloy to be able to play more than 100 games. They're relying on Tim Anderson to come back healthy, which I think that's actually very possible.
He's had some weird liking of tweets today too about being a White Sox member forever. So
yeah, and then a few other. They're hoping for a few other things. I mean, they're hoping Mike Clevenger can be a replacement for Johnny Cueto, which he could. There's upside there. The Mike Clevenger move is more of a move I felt like the Cubs would do because they're not ready to win the World Series. They're trying to get into the playoffs, and we're happy. The White Sox, they are coming off the most disappointing season in Chicago sports history of this century. The most disappointing team this century, no doubt. Maybe the 04 Cubs are right there with them, but maybe the 2019 Bears are right there with them too.
Yep.
That team had World Series aspirations and they missed the playoffs. And
I don't like, and their front office is sitting on their hands, and whether that's their fault or if that's Jerry's fault, like, holy shit, is that a dumpster fire, man? Like, and I'm not saying this because I'm a Cubs fan.
Right,
I'm just saying it because it's the truth. Like, it does make me feel better being a Cubs fan in this situation, because at least the Cubs have gone out there and have made some free agent signings. Even like last year with Stroman and Suzuki, I thought last year Stroman would have been a nice play for them. But yeah, man, they're just not doing. They're clearly showing that they don't care if they're good or not. They care about if the fans are going to come. But like, fuck, dude, like the fans ain't coming to every game like they do at Wrigley.
No,
fuck. I don't know.
I don't.
In a way, I wish Wrigley was like that, because then maybe the Ricketts would do more.
Yeah,
but but
no,
lowest ticket sales since 1997, but still, whatever.
I mean, that's like pre-Kerry Wood. I mean, that's insane. Like I remember 97, I would have been 10. Like that's going back.
Yeah.
Like those teams were not good at all. So,
and that was like pre Sosa really, injecting the steroids. You know what I mean? Like, like I like 98 is really when I became a fan.
Sure.
I was so young, you know what I mean?
Right.
So
right.
that makes sense. And like the Cubs have been in huge attendance numbers since then, right? So
right. I feel like 03 is when it really went like insane in terms of like attendance. Like you had to be there because you could tell like they were trying to win, and then it's kind of been on an upward trajectory, and then it's kind of bottomed out and kind of ebbed and flowed. But Michael says we have 2 baseball owners in the town, cheap and cheaper. All the folks in the chat, thank you so much. We are absolutely loving this, and it's
what's up, Jack R. He's in the Jack R. He comes into the Cubs thing too, Cubs channel all the time, and he said something about IU. He's a big IU fan. He's got Bob Knight. I saw
that.
He likes to give me a lot of crap about Illinois, but Illinois just beat number 2 Texas the other day.
Hey, they're a basketball school.
They're a basketball school. Big basketball school. I'm feeling good. And Indiana lost to Rutgers the other day. I don't know. But yes, they have to play Gonzaga this weekend. That's a big game. We'll see.
Vinny, I'm going to defer to you. Do you have anything about the Bears you want to share, or should we jump straight to whatever?
We can just jump straight to whatever.
All right. So for those of you in the chat, if you haven't listened to our show before, the second half of our show, after we get done bitching and complaining and moaning about Chicago sports, which I feel like we did a good job tonight, we pick something in pop culture, or we make a top 5 list. This week we talked to I talked to Vinny and I talked to Cody, and we decided to figure out we were going to try and rank our top 5 Christmas gifts we've ever gotten. I don't know about you guys. I'm focusing more on as a kid because that's when it was like awesome. So we are going to do that. So Vinny, go ahead and hit the music.
He's on fire.
That's the basketball music, Vinny.
Now it's time for whatever.
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 Whatever you want.
Whatever I want.
Whatever, dude. Irrelevant.
Whatever, dude.
All right, Vinny, take it away.
Welcome to Whatever Baseball and Whatever. This week, as Justin had just alluded to, we are talking top 5 Christmas gifts of all time. And Justin, as you also talked about, I also kept my list to when I was a kid, because as I got older, Christmas, the magic of Christmas, so to speak, kind of just wore off for
I feel like
obvious
now
reasons
I'm an
for
adult.
us now.
I can buy stuff. I don't have to wait for Christmas.
Very true. Very true. Cash in on those Black Friday deals to pick up all the video games you can't play, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, if anyone in the chat is a parent and they still play video games, if you could let me know how you find time to play video games when you're a parent, I would really appreciate it, because I'm down to like Saturday night at like 11 p.m. for like an hour, and then it's like, shit, I should just go to bed. So
you regret it, because then you have to wake up early in the morning.
That's exactly right.
Yes. Cody, thank you for joining us for the whatever topic. This should be a lot of fun. So I will let you go first, the guest of honor. What is your number 5 Christmas gift of all time?
Man, I don't know how to rank them. I can just think of like the 5 that I really like.
That works.
Okay. I like the idea of when you're a kid, like Justin said. Man, when my dad got me the PS1 when I was a kid
Ooh,
that
nice.
was that was an all time, man. Like when I got the original PlayStation, I remember getting that, and I played Spyro the Dragon and Crash Bandicoot all
Great
the time,
games.
Man, holy shit, yeah.
That and what was it with the cars? Driver 2.
Driver, yeah.
Yes.
Wrigley Field was in Driver too, if I'm
Yes,
not
it was.
mistaken. Yeah.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
This is okay. This is where it's gonna get like in the weeds. I remember my buddy had Driver 2. You could go to Wrigley. I want to say, Vinny, you'll have to correct me. It was either in the bleachers or like in the concourse. There was like a 70 Chevelle that was like the best car in the game that you could find.
It was underground.
It was
in the
underground,
parking
yeah.
lot. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Why is a 35-year-old? I remember that. I don't know.
I don't remember that. All I remember, I think it was Driver 2 that I played the most. I think that was the better one.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I remember it was like me and my cousin. We would always take turns. With the controller, he'd give me the controller, and I would just get in the car and just drive around and get, try and run away from the cops and just run things over. It was like playing Grand Theft Auto, honestly.
Yeah.
And then whenever you get caught, we just let the other person have the controller, and then they would do it's so crazy how that was just so entertaining when you were a kid, but that's what we would do. And I do not remember ever driving into Wrigley Field, man. I do not remember doing that.
We would do donuts. I think you could do donuts like on the field and stuff. If I'm not
think
mistaken.
so. Yeah, you were able to break into the field.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. No. Yeah. Either way, PlayStation, honestly, there's a reason they brought the PlayStation back or whatever, a few years ago.
Yeah.
A lot of those games are awesome.
Completely
That as a millennial, I think millennials are with me on that one.
Yeah, I would 100% second that. So, good call.
Okay, Justin, do you have a number? Did you rank yours? Or?
You know what? I have 5, so I'm just gonna go at random. I guess. Since Cody brought it up, I also remember PS1. I got a PS1 Christmas of '96, and I'm dating myself here. I got MLB Pennant Race, which was Sony's baseball game before it became the show. That was the year I think was Jeff Blauser on the Cubs? It might have been a year later. We're talking really Jim Bullinger and all these god-awful. Rick Wilkins, I think, was the catcher, maybe. Horrible guys. But yeah, we had that in Crash Bandicoot, and then I bought way too many games after that. And I remember being so pumped because that was, I think, the year N64 came out, and my parents were like, "We're so sorry. We couldn't find an N64." And I'm like, I don't care. PlayStation's fine. I'll take whatever I can get. So, to piggyback off of Cody, that would be one of mine for sure. Michael in the chat says his dad got him an Ernie Banks shortstop glove in 1960, and he still has it. Best Christmas morning ever. That is incredible.
Nice.
That is awesome.
That is
incredible.
That is awesome. Yeah. I would love to see that someday. That is awesome. Vinny, what about you?
Justin, I have to say though that was kind of like a major thing, getting a PlayStation instead of a 64. It just changed your whole life there because you are a PlayStation guy. It changed my whole
trajectory because then I went down the rabbit hole of a PS2, PS3, PS4.
Yeah.
Now I have a PS5, which
things could be different. You could have an Xbox or whatever it is now.
I could. I don't. But no, I'm all PlayStation all the time. When I have time. I know Cody was tweeting out Modern Warfare 2 stuff, and I'm like,
yeah, I've been streaming Call of Duty.
I should buy that.
It's a good game. It's just like any other Call of Duty. Whatever.
Yeah. I tried out the Warzone because I know that's the free mode. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I'm just relegated to one night a week because I never have time or I'm too freaking tired from being a parent. Vinny, what about you though?
Probably I ranked mine. I took the short time to rank it, but my number 5 was I got a Tasmanian Devil Space Jam jersey for Christmas.
Wow! Oh hell yeah!
And I remember because I was playing CBA, YMCA basketball. I showed up. I felt so cool wearing that jersey, showing up. I was awful. I still am bad at basketball. I don't know why I ever played that.
You're tall. You should be good. That's the prerequisite.
I'm tall. I can't jump. That movie, White Man Can't Jump. That is me. I can't jump. That movie was named after me. Before I was born. But yeah, so that was probably the first one I thought of. But yeah, number 5 for me was that Tasmanian Devil jersey.
Oh, shit. I played basketball for the school team in 6th grade, and I'm 5'7" now. I think I was probably 4 feet nothing in 6th grade. So I couldn't play. Yeah. There's a reason I played hockey most of my life and not basketball. So anyway, I digress.
All right, I kick it to you, Cody.
Okay. You just mentioned a movie, and obviously when I was a kid, Justin, you too. How old are you?
I'm 35.
35, so like just 4 years older than
Yeah.
me. Getting like DVDs or just like a movie for Christmas was like, especially when I was younger, was always a big deal. Because you couldn't go on Netflix or you could like renting them. It was like, I think Redbox was slowly becoming a thing, or something like Redbox was becoming a thing, but like Family Video was the only way you would rent things more often than not. But I can't remember what year the movie came out, but man, when I was in high school, I loved Superbad. Superbad was like my favorite movie when I was a kid. Superbad is still one of my all-time favorite movies. And like when I got the movie for Christmas, it came with like the McLovin like ID license,
awesome.
like an actual one, like attached to it. And I honestly can't tell you when I finally took that damn thing out of my wallet as an adult. Like that, I carried that thing around with me all the time for like a decade, man. Like I'm not even like kidding. And it was only because every time I would see it, I'd probably get a laugh out of it or something like that. But yeah, no, Superbad is one of my all-time favorite movies. So whenever I got it for Christmas, whatever year it was, I just remember being super excited about it. I still have the movie. I have a whole collection of DVDs that I don't watch anymore because I don't need to, but yeah.
Did you ever try to use that ID to get in or buy?
No,
just as a joke, like you just dropped that down.
No, I never did. I think I just thought it was so like funny because like it was a fake ID in the movie. So like, I don't know what it was, just carrying it around. Again, I was a teenager, so I was like, oh, yeah, I got a driver's license. You know?
Yeah. Like the car and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I saw that movie in college. I want to say I was maybe a junior in college. And I remember I went with a couple buddies to see it, and I was blown away by how funny it was. And then I did, Vinny will appreciate this, I did this like self-reflection, like, man, I really should have enjoyed high school more. I was too tame and like uptight in high school. Like I couldn't even probably count on one hand how many house parties I went to. Which Vinny, I'm sure, is not surprised at all after knowing me for almost 15 years now. And I'm like, man, now that being said, like, I think in high school, I was probably more like Michael Cera, kind of like keeping to himself, a little goofy, but, yeah. Oh God, that is literally probably one of my favorite movies of all time. The scene when they're playing soccer and he kicks the ball. He's like, it's fucking soccer, man. It's fucking soccer, Greg, or whatever he says like that. It makes me laugh every time. So good stuff. Good call. I like that a lot. Oh,
Justin.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go. This would have been like 96 or 97. When the starter jacket craze hit, I had the pullover way too big for my size, but that's how everybody wore them. They had the front pocket and it was the pullover. I had the Charlotte Hornets teal jacket. I remember I was a Hornets fan because I loved Muggsy Bogues and Glenn Rice and Alonzo Mourning and stuff like that. But just kind of funny. It's like the Bulls' glory days, and here's me, south suburbs of Chicago, wearing a Charlotte Hornets jacket. And I still remember my mom in particular was like, I don't know if you should wear that to school because your lockers don't have locks, and if someone steals that, you're not getting another one. Like it was very serious business to have a starter jacket in grade school. But yeah, that would be one of my top 5 for sure. I wore that thing probably till like right before freshman year of high school, and I'm like, yeah, I can't wear this anymore. I'm gonna get laughed at as soon as I get to high school. So yeah.
Now you could wear it and be retro.
Yeah, it could be.
Make a comeback.
Joey in the chat says that classic Bulls starter is an all-timer. Yes, my sister had the Bulls one, and I had to be different, and I was all in on the teal with the Hornets, the San Jose Sharks, all that stuff. So that would be one of my top 5 for sure. What about you, Vinny?
My number 4, I got a Chicago Bulls like plastic locker, I remember, for 1 year as a Christmas gift. Do you guys remember those? I don't remember who made them, but they looked like they were kind of like taller. They were like kid size, but
Okay.
you could actually like stuff things in there. You could put your name on there on stickers.
Oh,
I didn't
yeah,
put my
yeah.
name on it. I put Dennis Rodman because Rodman was my favorite player. He couldn't score. He could just rebound for the Bulls. That's pretty much what I was only good for when I played basketball.
Yeah, I was gonna say, guy that can't jump but is tall. That sounds about right.
Yes. So I that was one I remember. I would always like. I would think I was so cool having a NBA locker in my bedroom, and it was just.
I remember seeing those all the
piece of
time.
junk.
Like, I don't know if you guys remember Sport Mart before it became Sports Authority or however that was. Sports Authority. I don't even know if that's even around anymore. But yeah, those were really popular in the mid '90s, late '90s.
Yep.
Good call, Vinny. Very good call.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cody, you got another gift?
All right, so I've done two. I've done a movie and I've done PlayStation. I'm trying to think of like experiences on like Christmas. And the only one I can think of is, thank God my girlfriend went to sleep on this, but one of my exes, when we were dating and I was in college, she bought me tickets to a Bulls-Lakers game on Christmas Day.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was during the Rose era, and obviously I was in college, so but I'm pretty sure the game ended up like not being nearly as exciting because one, Kobe Bryant didn't play, and two, I'm pretty sure Rose or Butler didn't play, which doesn't surprise anyone there. This was in like 2014 or 2015. It was towards the back end of that era.
Okay.
But I think I was more excited because I thought I was going to finally get to see Kobe Bryant play for like live. And it was like I think it was in his retirement year, to be honest with you. So maybe it was 15 or I don't know. I don't remember what year he retired, but it was definitely like the back end of his career. And like, I was either in college or just graduated. I can't remember, but yeah, we went to, it was at the United Center, went to a Bulls game and like on Christmas Day. I'd never done anything like that. And, yeah, it was a good time. I think the Bulls won because the Lakers were so bad. Yeah, it was like a different type of Christmas for me for once. It was I didn't just stay in. I went to a Bulls game and they played on Christmas Day, which was cool.
That's awesome. I feel like as I've gotten older, the whole like I'd rather buy an experience as opposed to like just something tangible. I don't know. It's not the same as when you're a kid or when you're in high school or college. You know, this getting older, getting into your 30s sucks. Let me tell you.
Whenever when you're a kid, you're all about like all the things that you get, like that you get to unwrap, and then as you get older, you're like let's go do something.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, for sure. Michael in the chat said he got a Bobby Hull autographed home jersey when he was 16 and he slept in it. That is awesome.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. I am jealous.
That's
I only
pretty
have
cool.
my autographed Seabrook jersey, which I got at a giveaway because they were trying to get fans back after like the, I don't know, third or fourth lockout that Gary Bettman was responsible for, but I digress. So where are we at, Vinny?
You are on
I think it's you.
3.
Is it me? All right.
Is it 2?
No, it's
three.
Three?
I just gave my third. Yep.
All right, I'm gonna go with my third. I'm gonna switch it up. I in our intro referenced Star Wars because I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. I remember 95, 96. I think it was like the 20th anniversary. Good Lord. And they brought all the toys back, and my parents got me the giant X-wing and the giant Millennium Falcon. Holy shit, that was so cool. I thought I was Luke Skywalker. You could push the little R2-D2, the wings would open up, it would shoot the lasers, it had little missiles, and I went around the house shooting those things at everyone. Yeah, so there you go. Joey in the chat says, I'm to the age where I tell everyone not to get me anything. Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of, now it's at the point where it's like, just, get something for the kid,
Yep.
And
It's like I buy whatever I want for myself.
Yeah, it's like when you're a kid, you don't have the money, but you have the time. But when you're an adult, you have the money, hopefully, and then you don't have any time, right?
Yeah.
Like, it sucks. But yeah, so no, Star Wars, the Millennium Falcon, and the X-Wing for sure.
Nice.
Definitely up there. What about you, Vinny?
Yeah. For me, it's Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. That game was awesome.
That was a good one. Yes,
it was a really good one. I spent a lot of time playing that one. Pretty much all Christmas break. I don't think I left the basement unless my parents had me going somewhere. I was sitting in front of the TV playing that one, trying to beat it. That one was a lot of fun, being able to like fly around and stuff like that during the game. Just like the different levels. I think that was the first Crash game I ever played too, so I didn't know what to expect. And that's kind of like the Mario version for PlayStation, right?
Yeah.
Like single player, running through levels, trying to get stuff. So yeah, I love that game. There was so much to try to unlock. I definitely didn't get close to unlocking everything, but I definitely beat the game at least once. So
nice.
Yep, Crash 3 for me.
Michael says Ricketts' kids gave him a giant piggy bag for Christmas and it weighs 100 pounds. I wouldn't be surprised. Or Papa Ricketts. Ricketts gave it out, you know.
That's classic Colada.
That's awesome.
You're getting full blood Colada right there.
We appreciate it. We'll take you know after 80 almost 80 episodes, we'll take any interactions we can get. So no, we appreciate it a ton.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right, Cody, number 2.
All right. I want to say that my very first jersey that I got for Christmas was Alfonso Soriano.
Nice.
I want to say that was the very first jersey I ever got. My family was broke growing up, so like during the early 2000s, I've never had a Sosa jersey, even though he's like my favorite Cub ever. I never had a Wood or a Pryor, but I think my family finally was able to get me a Alfonso Soriano jersey after he signed with the Cubs. Back in, I would say 06, 07, like the winter of that or whatever. Yeah. So that was, I mean, as a kid, that was cool. And I still have it and I've never washed it. That's probably not good, but I've never washed it. And it's in the closet right now. And, I got way too many Cubs jerseys. But that one I always wear to Wrigley on a day that, one, I know that I'm going to be getting at least 5 beers deep, and 2, the Cubs are on a losing streak, so I'm trying to bring like the good vibes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you Cody, I'm curious because I've been on like a jersey kick lately, especially with Black Friday. Like I bought a couple old hockey jerseys that I liked of teams when I was a kid. I just bought a Steve Kerr jersey because he was one of my favorites when I was a kid. But, like, I don't know about you. Do you wear...
so random.
I know. It was like, I saw it on Mitchell and Ness, and I'm like, oh, I like
Steve Kerr?
Steve Kerr. Yeah. Steve Kerr, and before him, it was B.J. Armstrong. Those were my two favorites.
Honestly, Steve Kerr would make sense for just, like, any white dude that can shoot a basketball, right?
Yeah. Well, see, in my head, I could shoot threes, in the backyard.
And you were short.
I was short.
Yeah.
I figure I had to have had the same talent as Steve Kerr, just at a younger age. Jack says he got a Reggie Miller jersey for Christmas. I believe I had one of those as a kid, too. Anybody who could shoot threes was, like, my favorite player. That was, like, my thing.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, like, so, okay, I'm curious. Do you only wear those jerseys when you go to games, or do you wear them around, the house, the apartment, whatever, like, to work? Or are you strictly, like, a game day kind of thing?
So I wore a jersey to the CHGO office one time.
Mm-hmm.
And I wore it on set, and after the show's over, I was like, this isn't it. I'm not going to do this again.
Okay.
I can't explain it. I felt like it's just not the vibe at work. But normally if I do wear a jersey, it's usually to when I go to Wrigley.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like if it's a big game or, some kind of superstitious thing happens and I'm wearing this jersey, so I'm like, I got to wear it the next day or the next time I go to a game or next time I'm watching a game, I'll throw that jersey on. But that's it. Like I'm not someone who puts a jersey on and like goes out with my girlfriend to the bar in it or anything like that. I'm definitely more of, I'm only going to put that on if I'm going to the game or if, it's like a special reason for like that, nothing that cannot be explained.
That makes sense because like, so I bought all these and I'm like, they're sitting in my closet and it's like, oh man, they're so cool sitting there. They look so good. And I'm like, but
you're not gonna wear them.
I'm not gonna wear these out, and a lot of them are not Chicago teams, so I'm never gonna go to any of these cities, at least not anytime soon. And it's like, well, I could wear it when we record the podcast, but then it's like, I don't know, like I'm sitting here wearing a Muggsy Bogues jersey, you know, and it's a Chicago sports podcast. That doesn't vibe right, you know.
Like is it Steve Kerr Bulls jersey?
Yes, we're talking like the black pinstripe Bulls
Oh
jersey, yeah.
man. Okay, well never mind. I was gonna say like you could totally wear it. Like if you, I don't know how much pickup basketball you play, but if you showed up in a black pinstripe Steve Kerr jersey, you best believe that people are going to be picking you to be on their team.
Yes.
Yeah. But they will be expecting you to hit every three that you take. Man.
No, the extent of my sports these days is playing in 16-inch softball leagues and men's ice hockey, which I haven't played in since my kid was born. But no, that's a good observation. Michael says my dad got me an autographed stick from the Blackhawks in the late 1960s, and he got it in the locker room after. That's awesome. That's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Colada's getting a lot of cool gifts.
I know. I'm impressed, man. I'm impressed. That's awesome. Very cool. All right. Is it me, Vinny?
Justin, number 2 for you.
All right. I'm going to go, just to switch things up, I'm going to go, I don't know if you guys can see this because it's off screen, but I have, this is a hockey stick right here. That is the first hockey stick I ever got when I was a kid. I got it for Christmas in 2nd grade because I had a shitty old wooden one, which was my dad's from like the 60s or from the 70s, I think, actually. So they bought that for me. I kept it, and now it's nailed to my wall in the little sports bar area we have. But that was like the quintessential, like, holy shit, I got a real hockey stick now. Like, this is all mine. I felt like a badass, and not many goals scored with it, needless to say. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here doing a podcast right now if that were the case. But there you go. That is my number 2, I guess we'll call it.
Nice. Good gift. For me, it was GTA Vice City number 2. That game was awesome. The last 2 are going to be
video games
for me, because I mean, if I didn't play soccer, I probably would have been like 300 pounds just sitting in my basement, like the kids from South Park when they're playing World of Warcraft. Like that would have been me eating Cheetos and I played sports, so luckily that was able to get out of the house and see the sunlight. But yeah, GTA Vice City was another game I got over Christmas, and I played night and day during Christmas break trying to beat that. That was the first game where you could like go in buildings and buy buildings and stuff like that, and it was a great story too. You had the late what's his name,
Ray Liotta.
Ray Liotta was the main character voice.
Tommy Vercetti,
Yes, he was. Yeah, that was a great game.
The music in that game is phenomenal, by the way.
Yes, it is.
Throw that out there.
San Andreas is my favorite.
See, that's one I've never played that one, and I feel like I am missing that because I love 90s.
It's so good. It's so good that people use it as a damn meme, man.
Yeah.
Like, shit, here we go again. Like when I see that
for the
meme,
Cubs too, right now, actually.
Right. Like when I see that meme, I'm like, not only do I get flashbacks of playing that game a lot, but I'm also like I'm thinking in the game, like getting ready to like, you know, either
Somebody's
go rob someplace or someone's getting shot.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know how I missed out on that one. I don't know. That would have come out like I was probably a junior in high school, sophomore, junior. I don't know. Must have missed that one somehow, but Jack says in the chat, I got a Bob Knight poster years ago. I still have it. It says victory favors the team that makes the fewest mistakes. I like that. Very cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Joey says San Andreas was awesome. The music driving.
Oh, soundtrack. Yep.
Yeah, the soundtrack. That's the main reason I want to play that game. So
yeah.
Good stuff.
All right,
okay.
So one, right?
This is my last one. This probably really is my number 1. It's actually sitting right here on my. It's like my TV is right here, and below it is like this. I guess you could call it like a TV stand, but we have our TV on the wall. But like the stand has like cubicles in it where you can put like stuff in it, I guess. But on top of it, I have this big long black case that has a Louisville Slugger bat that has the 2016 Cubs World Series emblem on it.
Yeah.
And my dad got me that for Christmas in 2016. It was the one thing I asked for. When the Cubs won the World Series, I started asking for plenty of things for Christmas. My entire Christmas
my entire Christmas in 2016 was all Cubs related.
Yeah, so
I
was
didn't ask
mine.
for
Yeah.
I didn't ask for anything else except for Cubs related things in 2016. But yeah, my dad got it for me. It was online. It's like whenever it first came out, like there was like 2 different colors. There was like a blue one, and then there was just like a white, like a regular wooden bat, like that. It looks like a bat that you would use, I guess. But over time, it has now gotten some signatures on it. It has Ryan Sandberg on it. It has Chris Bryant on it. It has Javi Baez on it. I said Sandberg. Oh, Pat Hughes is on it.
That's awesome.
The whole process, or the whole thought process behind it when I asked for it from my dad, was that I was going to try and get as many 2016 autographs on it. I got Brian and Baez on there, and then I just happened to run into Ryan Sandberg when I was at CubsCon one year, and I didn't have anything else for him to sign. So I was like, well, guess that I guess your name's going on this too. And now,
even a samurai sword?
No. Yeah. So yeah, not even samurai.
Not yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that maybe down the road when those guys like all retire and they do these like autograph signings to make their extra cash, maybe I'll be able to get some more names on there. But it's so hard to get those guys autographs on things, especially right after 2016, because it was so wanted and the Cubs took so much advantage of that and charged so much damn money for people to just get in the line and wait to meet whoever for 5 minutes at those things. But yeah, no, that's the other idea behind it is it gives me a reason to want to have a child because I want to pass it down to whoever that is one day. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
incredible.
it's definitely number one. I never take it out or it just sits there. It's like, it's pretty cool that my girlfriend allows me to put in our living room, but yeah, you know, it's one of those like memorabilia things that I will always keep. Now, if you watch the CHGO Cubs podcast on YouTube, a lot of the stuff that we put on the table, like we always have like bobbleheads, and stuff like that. Sometimes we'll put this big like gold glove looking thing on there if you watch any episode, and there's like a little thing on the inside of it and it's a baseball, and it has like 2016 World Series and it has a bunch of names on it. Anyway, my mom got me that for Christmas that year, and it's like authentic, even though it's not even like signed by anyone, but I have this like authenticity like piece of paper for it. I don't know if it could be worth anything down the road, but whatever. Anyway, it's on our set. I like that was pretty cool to get. And
awesome.
Yeah, so there you go. Next, when you guys watch it, watch
Keep
the
an eye out
show.
for it.
Yeah, keep an eye out on it. But a lot of the stuff that we put on the Cubs set when we do our show, a lot of that stuff is mine. It's all from,
I was wondering where all that stuff comes from the various shows. That's awesome.
Well,
for the Cubs stuff anyway, yeah.
Yeah, when we all launched, like they were just like, if you guys got anything that you want to bring to put on our sets and everything, bring it. Well, I live in a 900-foot square apartment and I don't have a ton of space because of that. So instead of leaving all my crap in a big tub in our closet, then I just like, screw it. I'll take it all to work. Honestly, for my previous job that I had, I took everything that was on my work desk at my previous job, put it all in a box, and took that exact box to the CHGO office when I got that job.
That's awesome.
And then took some other stuff that's here at home too. So yeah, no, a lot of especially the Cub stuff, a lot of that is mine.
That's awesome. Well, if you do have a kid down the road, take whatever room you do have and like cut it in half, because I'm not going to turn the computer around because it's a mess down here, but like this basement used to be like my little like man cave, and now I see a dollhouse over there. We have a circus tent. There's a basketball net. Like I am sequestered to this little area behind the bar, and I'm hoping our 1-year-old isn't going behind the bar quite yet. But yeah, you'll enjoy that. I guess is it my last one, Vinny?
It is your last one, Justin.
All right, I'm gonna go. Obviously, I'm a little bit older than both you guys, and before the PS1, there was the Sega Genesis, which that was like my glory days. NBA Jam. I played so much NBA Jam. I'll give you a little.
Boom shakalaka! He's on fire!
There you go. Ripped those couple. I don't remember when I ripped those. Anyway, but more importantly, NHL 95 and NHL 94. NHL 95 I got for Christmas. And that got me, that system and that game got me into sports like LaRussa Baseball 95 and RBI 94 and NBA Jam and NHL 95. Like, that got me following pro basketball, pro hockey, and pro baseball. And, like, that was my gateway into these games are really fun, but, like, holy shit, like, I can watch this team and do stats and, like, you know, and then that got me into Little League and playing ice hockey and my very short-lived career in basketball, obviously, as we talked about. So that's my number one, the Genesis and all those sports games for sure. Yeah, love it. And here I am now. I'm talking sports on our podcast and buying jerseys that I don't wear, so that it worked out great.
Perfect.
And playing games
Steve Kerr jerseys.
Steve, no one else in the South Side of Chicago, I'm guessing, has a Steve Kerr jersey. So
honestly, you should frame it, put it on the wall right next to whatever one behind you.
If CHGO needs a Steve Kerr jersey, you know who to contact. We can work out a deal.
Yeah, like honestly, I would think. Like if you look at our set in the very back, there's a Michael Jordan.
There's a Jordan one, yeah,
the black pinstripe. Honestly, like if we frame the Steve Kerr and put it right next to it, I think that would be hilarious.
See, the problem is, so I bought that one, and then I started reading Muggsy Bogues' autobiography, and it was awesome. It was a great book, and I'm like, I really liked him as a kid. He was short like me. Oh shit, his jersey's like 35% off on Mitchell and Ness. Oh, I'll buy that. And now I have a teal Charlotte Hornets jersey, which I don't know when the hell I'm gonna wear that. I keep telling myself in the summer when I'm on the boat in my parents' boat, I'm like, oh, you know, sun's out, guns out. I'll wear basketball jerseys then, because Vinny can pull off that look. I don't know if I can. We'll find out this summer.
Yeah,
but
you like that, or like we're way past our like summer music festival like stage, but like you know, if you want to relive those glory days,
go to Lala wearing those, yeah. I'll look great. I still look.
You
like
you don't have
20s,
any facial hair, so like maybe some people would think that you're in your 20s.
Yes, they would.
It wasn't until recently I had a student of mine point out my gray hairs, and I'm like, oh man, I'm not the young teacher anymore. I'm the one, that, you know, mid 30s. It's all downhill. I'm telling you guys. Vinny, what's your last one before we wrap up for tonight?
My last one is no surprise if you've been keeping track. GTA Vice City was number 2, so GTA San Andreas is my number 1.
Oh, okay,
that
there you go.
Was amazing, as Cody had talked about earlier. Yeah, the soundtrack to that was phenomenal. Being in LA for the first time and just the 90s environment was fantastic. And then just the two other cities. It was San Francisco and then Las Vegas too. I forgot about that. I was thinking of GTA. Was it 5 now, where it's just LA? But
I think you're right.
It had the two other cities along with LA. That was a great game, a great story too. They had another great voice actor in Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah,
was the main bad guy in it. Great game.
There was one mission in that game that basically kept me from moving on to doing anything, because I did everything. I had to put it off. I never was able to beat it. I was never able to beat it. And, but I had gone and done everything else, and then realized, well, I have to do this, and then I never could. It was, all I remember is you had to fly an airplane, and you had to shoot a gun or something while flying the airplane. I think that's what it was, but I can't fully remember. All I remember is
vaguely remember there was a plane.
It was not easy. I even had a friend, one of my best friends I still talk to today. I remember when he played the game too, he got stuck on the same mission, and I don't know if he ever got past it, but it got so bad for me that I gave up. I never got past it.
Really?
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, not nice, but yeah.
Yeah.
Those old.
It was one of those. It was one of those like L's in my life that was like tough.
Still keeps you up at night. You know.
Yeah, still keeps me up at night. Yes.
All right. Well, we've made it through another show.
Well
done, Vinny.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's a good time. I always appreciate you guys conversing on the Bird app and anywhere else.
Yeah.
And it's always fun talking.
So obviously you can find Cody, for those listening. If I know we have a bunch of CHGO listeners in here already, but I know some of our listeners might not be familiar with it. Even though we try to spread the good word for you guys. You can find Cody on CHGO, obviously the CHGO Cubs podcast, daily podcast. Jack and Joey are in the chat. Jack says, I want them to sign a shortstop before the show ends. I hate to say the show was going to be ending in like 2 minutes, so it's not looking good. But I know
how wild would that be?
Yeah, I know. Right? Cody, you also have a show with one of your buddies, right, on YouTube?
Yeah, so I just started it. It's called Connections, and what it is, it's a sports media podcast. I literally just dropped it last week. Me and my buddy I went to college with, his name's Steve Mork. Basically, if you just subscribe to my YouTube channel, the very first episode is the first video you'll see. If you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you'll get that, and you get to watch me really suck at Call of Duty sometimes. Yeah, no, it's just something I'm going to do during the off season because my friend Joey Ricotta might understand where I'm coming from on this because I used to work with him at On Tap Sportsnet. But and I think I've talked to you guys a little bit about it before, but like the journey to where to in this industry is not easy, and it's like anyone, like I don't take the position I'm in for granted. Like I love my job, and I thank God that I have it every day. And I think I got a really good one that I don't have to worry about my, worry about getting laid off and stuff like that. Right. But like a lot of people in this industry can't do that either.
Yep.
So basically the point is what that show is me and Steve will be talking a lot about like what's going on in media, mainly sports media, things that are like happening, people leaving networks and stuff like that. And then you usually have a guest on. We're actually gonna have Luke on our next episode, and I'm excited to really talk to him about like his journey because his story is really interesting to me. I've not only do I talk about the Cubs with him a lot, but I talk when we're not on camera. I talk to him about like just all the bullshit that he's gone through in his career.
I can't even imagine.
So yeah, that's basically what it is. Just one show. We're trying to do one show a week. I think we're going to do it Sunday. We'll be live on YouTube. It's usually about an hour. I think our first episode was actually an hour and a half because we just got on these like rabbit holes and stuff like that. And like, since I'm hosting it now, I have to get into that mode of like, okay, we have to do this in this amount of time and this amount of time. And when I'm on the Cubs podcast, Luke is the guy doing that, and I'm just the guy talking and yelling all the time. So, that's what it is. It's called Connections. It's also on. You can subscribe to it on Apple, Spotify, wherever. Just search Connections, a sports media podcast, and it's. I'm hoping that people are entertained in it because I think that it's. I think it's very interesting to hear other people's stories in the industry.
I'm excited to check it out, and it is so cool, especially with just Chicago media in general. The personalities that come in and leave and go other places. I'm here for it, so we'll definitely be listening and spreading that one a little bit. For all of you that were in the chat, thank you so much. We appreciate it a ton. Real quick, if you want to know more about us. Let me cue the outro music here. You can find us in a variety of ways. YouTube.com/baseball, whatever. Like, share, subscribe. We would appreciate it. Find us on Twitter. Follow us at Baseball and What. You can email us at baseballandwhatever@gmail.com. Find us on a podcast app of choice. And if you want to give us a review, we would gladly take it to help us, whatever the algorithm is, get higher in that. Next week, we are doing our regular baseball talk, maybe some Bears talk, and we are doing musical mayhem again. Vinny picks 5 artists from Spotify by clicking random. So we have Wiz Khalifa, Lit, Matchbox 20, Rich Homie Quan, who I need to listen to because I don't know who that is, and a group called Peace. And the goal is to try and find a song by them that we like, and we'll see what we find because I am still firmly planted in 90s music. So, again, Cody, you're awesome. Thank you so much. Vinny,
yes, thank you,
I'll
Cody.
Talk to you again probably in our text chain with Greg later tomorrow. And that's it for Baseball and Whatever. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next time. Peace, everybody.
See ya.
It would help if I hit the buttons. This is hard trying to produce and host at the same time. There we go. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. Baseball and Whatever is out.